to an opening with 100 ostriches in the back of your Rolls Royce, that's what he was going to do, just because.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Afternoon FM. Today, we have Warren Bobrow, the
cocktail whisperer.
The cocktail whisperer, a sage of sorts.
Sage.
The only guy who looks like he should be on a coin other than me, and possibly my future self, which is very strange. We have a lot of weird coincidences.
Yeah, we do.
Were fairly jarring. I wish it was on immediately, but I have to set up the mics. Welcome back, guys. Warren, thank you for stopping by.
This is like a trip back to Boston in 1984 for me. 4-Point Channel, seeing Run DMC at the Channel Club.
Run DMC in Boston?
In Boston,
oh,
yeah.
Wow.
They were kids. It was wild.
Is this before my Adidas dropped?
It was like the beginning of them.
Yeah, where? Did you see Rick Rubin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
He was wearing chains all
yeah.
around his neck.
This is before he adopted the guru mentality.
Well, they were just doing things like it was on the fly.
Oh,
it was on the fly. It was showing up in Boston. I mean, that was pretty amazing. It's a different time.
How is the architecture in Boston? Is very like warehouse.
It's like warehouse. 4-Point Channel was like warehouses and huge 10,000 square foot lofts that were all like one room that artists would come in and cut up into. I mean, they're literally their own houses in these huge loft spaces. They're all offices now, but it was a different time.
Why do they do that?
Well, it's because you can't leave it open. They were spaces for industry.
Yeah,
the development
pressures.
But the development this isn't. The development pressures are far beyond being an art space. Far beyond.
Ridiculous, bro.
It's like down to how many offices can they rent inside these huge commercial buildings.
Just units. It
Literally
just ends up going down to units.
One of the units that I knew of had a freight elevator that you could drive your car onto.
Well, there's a freight elevator.
Yeah, but you could drive your car onto it, and you would do that because if you parked it on the street and it was South Boston, was just over one bridge.
Yeah. So Southie.
Yeah, Southie. Yeah, well,
how is Southie?
It's all changed now.
Really? What is it like? Luxury condominiums as well?
Yeah.
Ever since The Departed dropped.
I have. They had to sell off all those churches. Whatever.
Tell me a little bit about. Tell me about you growing up.
So growing up, I grew up a rich kid in Morris Township, New Jersey. Jewish, sheltered, prep school, traveled the world. My dad was a international tax lawyer for my family's multinational pharmaceutical concern that manufactured Geritol and Sominex and Femiron and Aquavelva and Electric Shave and all sorts of consumer products. And he was really an extraordinarily successful and interesting person who was a true tycoon. And I was his eldest grandson. So being that I will be turning 62 in May, I'm pretty close to the age where he was so influential in the United States.
Where?
But no one knew his name. No one knew. Martin Scorsese played him in the movie Quiz Show. That I can tell you.
Really?
And they called him Martin Rittenhouse instead of Matty Rosenhouse. But anyway, I digress.
Wow. Holy shit!
I did not inherit a dime from him.
Yeah.
But I inherited his brains, and that was a good reward.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like that, man. It's weird because with my grandfather's story, it's like we were vibing a little bit earlier while the mics were off about how we have very similar father structures.
Yeah,
but
it has to come from someplace. And both my grandfathers were very hardworking people, and they lived during the Depression, and they came out of the Depression better than they did for many of the people that went into the Depression. They were smart Jewish people that really weren't afraid of working a long day because I got work papers at 13 or 14. They put me to work in a wine store and Stewart's root beer stand and all these really, and washing dishes in a restaurant and, all sorts of stuff and cleaning out horse stables. That was a big one. And, it teaches you to be somewhat respectful of other people, especially those who you come across who have never cleaned toilets in their life.
Yeah.
So it put a smile on my face. But really, what changed me, and I was touching on that before, what changed me was after becoming a chef, after working as a dishwasher, after starving in Portland, Maine, and being cold in places that I shouldn't have been. I basically had to take a right-hand turn, and that right-hand turn, excuse me while I clear my throat for a second. That right-hand turn was my late father forced me, because I didn't become a lawyer like he was, to pay him back every dollar he gave me from birth on. And it was about $2.5 million. It took me 20 years to pay him back. I worked in a bank. I started as a teller. I worked my way up into private banking. Every day was a drag. Nights and weekends, I worked in a wine store. And every person I came upon told me the same thing, that I didn't belong in a bank. They didn't know what I was doing there. My bosses all said the same thing. I didn't belong there. I belonged around creative people. And it took me until May of 2009 to see myself for who I am, and that's a creative person. And I lost my job due to offshoring, and it changed my life completely. I had to figure out what I was going to be, and I started writing. I'd never written before, and I've written 6 books now and thousands of articles for magazines all over the world, and I do podcasts for people, for groups all over the world, and led conferences and like the Cannabis Drinks Expo, and I told them that cannabis drinks suck, which they do, and except for mine, because it's the only one that doesn't suck. They all suck.
Plug, little
they all suck.
Drink Klaus.
Drink Klaus is different. Drink Klaus is a ready to drink. It's a delicious craft ingredients, craft cocktail made without rum, but it has THC. It has the Vertosa product, which we love, the nano emulsion. We use Hippie Crasher. It tastes and smells like the strain. So many drinks out there. I mean, there's some good, I would say gooder ones. I'm not going to name any names. But they still are all industrialized. The products, the ingredients that I use are all non-industrialized. I use the French lime puree. The limes are grown in Martinique. They have a certain pungency and oiliness to them, so it adds a depth and balance that's missing in most sodas. And this is not a soda. It's an actual craft drink. The ginger is a Jamaican style extra hot and spicy ginger syrup from Pickett's in Denver, Colorado. They have replicated, Jim Pickett, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, replicated the classic Jamaican style Great Britain / what do you do with ginger? You make ginger beer. How do you make it memorable? You make it extra hot and spicy. So, and then we added a little bit of mirin, which is rice vinegar. So that's my tip of the cap to Thai cooking and Vietnamese cooking and Pacific Rim cooking, because the product is sold in California. And you go to our website, drinkklaus.com, if you're in LA or San Francisco, and you can have it delivered to your house. It's delicious. You want to have tacos. You want to squeeze fresh lime on those tacos. It's exceptional. You want to have a drink that makes you feel good and not couch locked. And it smells just like a perfectly cured cannabis flower. It's magnificent stuff. That's just not me speaking. You look at our website and you can see, all the things that people have said. I mean, we were in Bon Appetit last month or this month, and that was just magic for us. And that's because I saw a rainbow. There was this bud under my seat. It's a rainbow that came the fuck down right next to me, and I took a picture of it. And ever since then, things have been going just wild.
That was the most beautiful ad drop I've ever heard on the show. You won, bro. Some people are like, mixtape coming soon. Catch me on the gram. A lot of people are like that.
Whatever it is.
I was like, like a Walt Whitman fucking poem of an ad.
Something in life.
Shit.
My brother, I achieved something in life. I was told every day by my late father that I would never that I would always be a disappointment, that I'd fail at everything. I failed 8 times. I don't deserve to fail anymore. I deserve to be a success.
Yeah.
I worked damn hard, and I've done a lot of things that I would never consider in my life at all.
Yeah.
Being an artist, it makes me crazy thinking about it.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy to think about the amount of time that I wasted.
Yeah.
But all I can do is do better, and all I can do is make a product as good as this.
Live for the day and enjoy your life.
Yeah, and I wrote this book over here, Cannabis, Cocktails, Mocktails, and Tonics.
Yeah,
wrote that in 2015. It's just starting to get going now. We're on like the 10th printing or something crazy like that, and people are still finding out about it. That's good. That means that even though it's the first book and the only book on the topic so far, according to the Library of Congress, it still is relevant today.
Huh.
And that's what makes it, that was the leap of faith. I was working for a company, a European company, as their master mixologist and brand ambassador for one of their boutique rum brands. And I wrote Cannabis Cocktails, and I went to Moscow. Brought the copy from the publisher before they put a cover on it. It's like a tear of that product of the book, and I came back to New Jersey, and they fired me the next day, and that's what changed my life right then and there. Because I didn't have a job, I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't going to work in a wine store. That just wasn't going to happen, and I started writing, and I took my parachute from banking and reinvented myself. I had it was a miniature parachute, but I was an AVP, so I got a pension and a 401k, and it gave me 2 years in the bank.
All right,
and it allowed me to reinvent myself.
That's good, man. There's like times like that too. I've not somewhat of a similar story. I used to work in a restaurant. It was when I was 18, man, I had to like basically just like figure out like how to like live and survive.
Yeah,
and shit.
how do you?
I worked as a busser, then a food runner, then I was like a waiter, and I don't know. The management changed, and I kind of left.
Yeah.
And I had like 40 grand. I was about to buy like a house, and then I realized I never left New Jersey, and I left. I was living in a kind of a loft building like this, but it was in Brooklyn. You ever heard of the McKibben Lofts?
Oh yes, yeah. It's all creative people in there too.
Yeah,
I've been to that building.
Yeah,
It's a nice building there.
I used to live in the McKibben Lofts, and there was the bottom, the fourth floor, like the fourth, like the relation to the fourth and fifth floor. Like the fourth floor would be like a kung fu dojo. Right. Where it was like my landlord would like go and he would fight like 12 kids from like the Bronx and Brooklyn. I swear to God, he'd come back, this guy would be like taking 3 people, and he'd be talking to me, he'd be like, Matt, stop leaving the light on in the bathroom at night. Like, shit like
but that's why that building stayed clean. It was a nice building. It was a mess.
McKibben in 2014, 2013 was fucking dirty as shit.
Yeah, but it didn't burn down. So
fair enough.
And you had heat.
Nude rave parties. Nude paint rave parties. That was a big one. It was great though. I remember one specific instance where they were playing Turned Down for What, and this fucking chick was like was naked, covered in paint, and smacked her head on a coffee table, and then just kept dancing.
Well, that's
beautiful. About almost 10 years later, I still remember it very vividly. Anyway, but yeah, I moved and I went to Los Angeles, and I just realized, like, after like my McKibben saga, that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like 21 and fucking.
Yeah, but at least you didn't work in a bank.
No, I didn't work in a bank.
See, working in a bank was the most demeaning thing I've ever done in my life.
Was it soulless? What is it? Just
it was soulless. It was a lot
of Excel sheets.
No, not at all. It was actually dealing with people, and it was the bank cable address. I worked for NatWest at that time.
Yeah.
The bank cable address was intimate.
What does that mean?
That's what intimate. That's the most What are the most intimate things of your body? That that was the bank cable, the cable where they sent money around the world.
Yeah.
Intimate. You type in INTIMATE.
Yeah.
Intimate, and that was the call letter of NatWest. It wasn't NatWest. It was intimate. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's fucking disgusting.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's so presumptuous. It's so entitled.
What, like, intimate?
Intimate.
Yeah.
That's not the most intimate thing is what's in your heart. It's not what's in your fucking pocket.
It's crazy, bro.
But that's what it is. But that's what it is, and that was the framework for my next 20 years.
I get a gig once in a while to do videography, and it's strange. I do like TikToks for rich people.
Okay.
And it's what's it called? I don't know. Like I'll hear their dialogue, and their dialogue is very like. They talk about like it's like more of like an obsession, like not necessarily like a collecting thing, but it's like the way when you see people talk about money, it's
and that
it's like weird.
And there's a stigma.
It's
because you're not supposed to talk about it.
No, but like
you're really
the way,
not supposed to talk about.
They're like, well, balls and this and this and this, and there's a lot of game and shit, and it's good to. It's just a strange thing to like. I mean, it's not a strange to obsess about money, but it's
that's why I work in the cannabis industry, because you never know who someone is, and there are a lot of dreamers, and there are a lot of artists, and I love it. And being that it's the plant, and I use it for medical purposes as well as emotional purposes, it's allowed me to see myself for who I am. Alcohol didn't do that for me. Alcohol made me feel stupid. And I was fat, and I was uncomfortable, and I was sick, and I was getting hangovers, and I was a day drinker, a real professional. I'd start drinking at 9 in the morning or earlier with 50 sugarcane rums, having to judge rum competitions. And there's nothing easy about it at all. You can spit all you like, but at the end of the day, after 50 rums, you're drunk. Yeah. And it made me, I was getting headaches and taking Advil, and you can't do that when you drink. It damages your liver, and I just didn't feel healthy.
Yeah.
I felt sickly, and I wanted to tell the people that I worked for, but they're living the same life. If anything, they're living a more in-depth life, because they're responsible for more of the financial welcomings of promoting liquor around the world. Yeah. And what happens there is they don't remember anything because they're drunk all the time. And you can't do business deals with people who are drinking to the excess that I may not have been drinking, but people around me were drinking. And they're also drinking a lot of overproof and barrel strength and, stuff that's not just 80 proof. We're approaching, some things over 50% alcohol. And it catches up with you. And I didn't feel healthy, and I didn't feel like the smartest guy in the room, even though I may have made the best drinks anyone has ever tried. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't remember. Or if you're dead, like so many of my friends are.
Mostly liver.
In liquor.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, they're all dead. Or the ones they're still alive, or a few and far between. And it's so funny because I'm working on a project and I'm under an NDA, so I can't really tell you much about it. But I can tell you that it's a vegan restaurant, and they know me because I work around cannabis and in the cannabis world. But they're really an interesting group of people because they want to do well by others, one sip at a time or one bite at a time, and I can't resist that. That plays into my first book, which was called Apothecary Cocktails, and it was really a take on what you would do in the early 1800s. If you weren't feeling well, you would go to your apothecarian in the town that you lived in, and he would make he would prepare something. We call them today a preparatory pharmacist, but he would prepare something for you. And how did they keep things fresh? Well, this was the day before electricity, so that it would either be wealthy and they'd have an ice house, or they were not so wealthy and they would preserve their concoctions, if you will, from their kitchen garden with alcohol. And those are the very early shrubs, not shrubberies, but shrubs, which would be acidulated beverages. In other words, herbs or spices or vegetables or fruits that are preserved in vinegar in a cool place. So you would add that to some type of fizzy water and add some colorful Peychaud bright red bitters, and you would say that, drink this and 3 times a day and come back for the next 6 weeks, and it does absolutely nothing. But you see the red in it, you think that it's strong, so it's going to do something. That's the beginning of the cocktail era. And that's it started with a guy named Jerry Thomas, who was the father of modern mixology. And his drinks were just they were fun. You know, they used ingredients that we look to today, and we say, gosh, how are we going to make that? But back in the day, when he was a cocktailian, it was something that the things that he could get easily. And it just teaches you what mixology is. It's not just about putting 14 ingredients in a drink and saying, here, it's going to get you fucked up. What we're saying is it's simple ingredients, carefully prepared with love. And that's what I've achieved, and I hope that others do the same.
Word. That's beautiful, bro. That kind of boils down with a lot of art, man. Simple,
hard work.
Simple ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Like a fucking...
Yeah, 3 ingredients, you know.
Yeah.
That's the key, and that's the go around in all of this, because so many of the brands that are out there, they're making more than 5,000 cans at a time. You know, we can't afford that. We're a small company. So we make 5,000 cans. That was our first run. And we were able to use non-industrialized ingredients. And the lime puree comes frozen. So literally it was sitting in a refrigerator thawing, you know, from some solid frozen 2.2 pound containers, you know, kilo containers. And when it was time for us to do our mix, it was still frozen, and so you know you have problems when you go to do things, and it has to be filtered, because if it gets plugged up into the spraying device that sprays the product into the can, then you have to clean it, and then you have to take everything apart. You know, it takes time. Everything takes time.
Yeah, no, it's just the process.
And that was during COVID, you know, so we're all masked up and gloves, and you're in gloves anyway, but still, it's a super clean room.
No, that's jeez, just the processing for it too, and like the. We
worked with Rebel Coast Winery, with Josh.
Word.
Yeah, down in Desert Hot Springs.
Word.
It's amazing facility.
My cousin actually does. I think he's like a sales broker for Opeachy.
Oh, well, I know Opeachy.
Yeah,
the wine company.
Yeah. John Oliver.
No, I know John Oliver.
John Oliver's my cousin. He's
actually when you see John, mention my name, please.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Get out of here, bro.
Yes, he knows me well.
Oh,
he knows me
God.
well, and all good, because I'm a member of the USBG, so the bartending guild.
Oh, that's great, bro. Shout out to John Oliver, bro.
Shout out to John Oliver. Yes.
He's actually
a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Oh, he's amazing.
Incredibly hardworking, and how you have longevity in that business, I'll never know.
One of the greatest tastes of music that you will ever come across. He's Morristown. He lived in Morristown for a long time.
Well,
I helped him move into Morristown.
Yeah. He's just, you know, I work with a lot of interesting people. There's another guy, Steve Fetty, that I work with, that I've worked with over the years.
Oh, yes, of course.
And he's worked with John over the years, and they're just very, very interesting. It's a career like any other, except for it reminds me of selling used cars, because someone always needs a used car, someone always needs a bottle of booze. I worked in liquor stores since I was 13, so come on. That was like over 50 years, longer than they've been alive. So I've seen it all.
People always need a used car.
Yeah, someone. Well, that's why they wear those black shirts with the white ties. They look like a fucking used car dealer. I mean, or garmentos look the same way. People who work in the garment industry. My ex-wife was owned a women's clothing store, and she used to go into New York, and she's like, "That's a garmento. That's a garmento. They look like used car dealers or liquor salesmen." They all have that same mindset.
Yeah. No.
So, they're cut from the same cloth. They're from like Garfield.
What Garfield, New
That's
Jersey?
where they're from.
That's fucking funny, man.
Or you know, they couldn't afford Cranford, so it was Rahway. You know, the highway side, not the prison side.
Yeah, that's funny.
Being from here is a blessing and a curse. I mean, because I grew up, as I said, incredibly privileged, more than anyone could imagine. And because, you know, my grandfather was that kind of person, and he didn't show off, and he drove an old car and wore clothing that didn't shout, and, you know, he was a really soft-spoken man. But that was lost on my parents.
Yeah.
They wanted it all, and they were greedy, so they took it from their kids, they took it from me, they took it from everyone. And, you You know, I think that's a cautionary tale, because when you have creativity and you grow up around creative people who were in the wrong jobs, like my parents, my mother never worked; she was with her horses every day. But but my father, you know, he fell into the law and made it his life because he had nothing else. You know, and it's just an indication of where he came from and who he was born to, and the fact that he tried to make me like himself, and that just made me not like him. And I didn't like him at all. You know, he took me to Brazil at 13, and that was either the best or the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Was that you just?
Well, I was supposed to get a bar mitzvah, and he said, "Let me take you to Brazil." I went to Brazil.
That's the best one.
Well,
I would say Brazil over bar mitzvah.
But it fucked me up for the rest of my life.
Why? Because you just saw the color?
No.
The
experience of losing one's virginity in Brazil at 13.
Oh,
not a good idea. You laugh.
What? Wait, what?
He had control over me every day for the rest of his life.
Wait, really?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Like what? Like, oh, because it was like a fucking.
Yeah,
like, I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's what you imagine.
Yeah, I fucking. I heard of, like, I don't know.
You ever see the Garden of Earthly Delights?
No, I've seen the movie. Yeah.
The triptych Garden of Earthly Delights.
Yeah.
I don't have any right to have seen that at 13.
Oh, good lord, bro.
In human.
That's yeah. Holy shit.
As opposed to artwork.
Yeah.
But the experience of all the different things. And so that's how he controlled me.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, bro.
It was pretty crazy. So when I consider my luck and
mine was just
the things,
dick.
Yeah. Well, but my product, my book, all my books, just being me. That's I have a lot to share, and I try to.
Yeah.
And I try, as I said, I try to do better.
It's
important.
It's
important. I really do. It's I don't want to. You know, I never had children, so I don't have the traditional, you know, watch someone else grow up through me. And I wouldn't want my parents to have control over any offspring that I would have, because to them it would just be an issue. As for me, I was just an issue. It wasn't a person. It was just, you know, a number.
It was like you're
a medium, a means to them getting more money. You know, that's what it was. So that's what rich people do, and that's on an extremely high level. And you know, they don't have to go through the normal, functions of government. So there's things they call a surrogate court. Yeah. If they want to take all the money out of a trust, they just did it. They didn't notify the surrogate. You know? Huh. So because they're above that.
It's crazy, man.
They're above that. I have to pay parking tickets. They probably do too, but on a higher level, if they need $10 million, they'd take it. Take it.
Christ.
And not tell anyone, you know, and didn't even pay taxes. And that's what my dad did to me.
Huh.
And told me every single day of my life, asked me why I worked so hard, because I would never have to worry. And I had to worry. I was self-made. Thank you. Not well, but you know, it's hard.
I got a mentor, and he was telling me, because I have kind of the same problem, not necessarily the same problem. It's on a different level of class. My grandfather was like an immigrant from like Lebanon. He was like kind of like a nomad around like the desert. He met my grandmother, and they immigrated to the United States, and had a house in Straight Street in Patterson, and. He worked in a clothing factory in Patterson for maybe 40 years. Was a constable in the area too. But it was like back when like the cops were like very community oriented.
Yeah, right.
Rather
they got
than
out of
military.
their cars.
Yeah. We would just walk around the Arab place and just resolve problems that were in the community.
Right.
Fucking. It's weird, but he when he immigrated over here, he was in El Paso. He was born in El Paso, so he had citizenship, but he like immigrated back here. He was in Lebanon. Was working over here, and then he established. So my grandmother was putting away towels one day, and the fucking shit. like a cabinet broke, like the floor of a cabinet broke, and she started pulling out money, and there was racks and racks of money. And yeah, it was a depression safe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was a depression safe that was like in the house in Straight Street. So they took it, and it was roughly like $300,000.
That's good money at any time.
Yeah. So roughly like I think around that time, but it was like around 300 grand. So they got a house on the west side of Patterson. He started to raise a family, and he has John's father, Nicky, who's fucking teen angel, is one of the fucking coolest people you ever meet. Also has an amazing music sense.
You're on drink class.
Oh no! Oh my god!
I'm gonna send it. Yeah, you got tagged.
Yeah, send me that.
You got tagged anyway.
Oh, it's all good. That's hilarious. What's it called?
Yeah, I'm sending it to you right now.
Oh yeah. Basically, it's weird because the generations, they work in waves, bro.
Yeah.
Like a very good mentor of mine was saying,
that's really lucky. It's good to have someone to guide you and to help you go to the next place emotionally as well as psychologically, because you have a burden. And, you and I were talking about that, and our burden are our fathers.
Yeah.
And our fathers were important figures to us, but they were just selfish because they only thought of themselves.
Yes.
They didn't think about anyone else.
Yes.
And I fall into that trap, but on the other side of it, I want you to know, as my brother, I want you to know that you're not alone, and that mine just had no soul.
Thank you.
He had no soul at all, and it's up to me to do better, and it's up to you to do better as well.
That's why I took the name, man. I was like, John is my cousin, is Oliver. Like, and I love like, I don't like disown like the Olivers.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, my grandfather, like he had like the spirit of it, and he built this thing for like my family, and he gave everybody like a base for them to go and do their own lives. And he really put a lot of faith in my father.
Yeah,
but
that was his first mistake.
Put him into law school.
Because he wanted to see your father become the image that he wanted to see, not what your father wanted to see for himself.
Yeah,
and that's why he took advantage. And that's why he took advantage.
They pushed him. My dad went through law school and was like the height. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, you're gonna be all these things. He's a very smart man, but he wasn't like, he had no work ethic because everybody just like, you know what I mean? He was just like spoon-fed a life.
Well, that sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah, he was spoon-fed a life, and then
and the image of what that life would be.
Yes, and then the ego overtook this goddamn man, and then after
because he was an attorney.
Didn't like doing it.
Yeah,
I don't think he really liked actually being an attorney. I think he liked saying he was an attorney.
Well, yeah. So, but still, that opens many doors to business.
Yes,
because I just know it opens doors to business, and that's what makes it intriguing. Because they use that to manipulate others through the law.
Yeah. Well, that was ending up being his like actual tool of survival. It was just like manipulating, like, oh, give me like a retainer, and he would just become Mr. Borough, bro. Like,
right. Well, but that was another life. So
yeah, no, but he just ended up being very like not necessarily. He was like very like predatory, like a little bit. Like he would like use like relationships and just leverage it. And it was, my mom was supporting us, and she was working at Stop and Shop. And like when I started to like get older, like, it was like, and I was kind of like fed an image like afterward, after all my grandfather did for me, like started to just like disown him and call him names, and everybody was stupider than him, and it was just like a bad vibe. And as I got older and I started to create things, I was like, I'm not gonna and I wanted to honor my grandfather, so I went back to Zeitoun.
That's great.
But it's the wave of like generation goes up like this, and it goes like this. So
being that you're from here, and you don't know this of me, but I'm going to tell you, I used to write for New Jersey Monthly magazine and write restaurant reviews for them. And I love food down here in Patterson more than anything you can imagine. So you have to be my guide. And we were just, we were talking before that you cover the food. Well, I thought physically it wasn't just the brain food, but I was thinking my gut was going to get filled up. So one of these days, and we'll make a time, I have to come back down, and you have to take me to your favorite
We're
restaurant.
going to Hood Famous, bro.
We're going to go Hood Famous.
This is how I met this man. So I've talked about this on the other podcasts. It's about like 2 weeks. In the past 2 weeks, I made this viral TikTok with my buddy John Page. We're actually supposed to go to lunch at this spot today to make the follow-up video. What's it called? We were at a chicken spot at like midnight, and he was like, I want to get some food, and I'm like, no place is open right now. He's like, no, there is a place. He's like, American Fried Chicken. I'm like, all right, where is it? It's by the BP. BP is probably the worst part of Patterson. Once you go past that White Castle, it's a whole different world.
It's all downhill from there.
Whole different world. Fort Ford is nuts.
No, you just don't want to do that.
It's just nuts. It's a nutty fucking place.
Yeah.
What's it called? So we go to. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we go to the spot, and I'm there, and it was just like I noticed that the place accepted Bitcoin.
Yes, that's bad.
Yes. But I was like, who is paying for Bitcoin? It was
Arabs,
chicken.
Chinese.
The chicken.
They're dealing. They've got grows all over here.
Paying for chicken with Bitcoin.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I finally get it because there's like drugs over there, and they were laundering the Bitcoin.
Yes,
cleaning
it. They're cleaning it.
That's
They're cleaning it through every sale, and they have the metric down to each piece of chicken. Because it's all in the multiples. It's all in the multiple. I worked in banking. Remember that?
Oh my God.
It's the magic of compound interest. That's what my friend Ted used to say it. The magic of compound interest.
But yeah, I saw the Bitcoin that was like, we accept Bitcoin here. And I was like, who's paying for chicken? And then I just started looking around. I just made a video joke. And the TikTok doesn't really do that much. I don't know. I thought I was shadow banned. And then it just started to fucking like spread like wild.
I got certified, or I got a blue check on
on TikTok?
Not on TikTok, but on Instagram.
Oh, word, really?
Yeah. So
nice.
And it's weed. It's a weed site. So what can I say?
Yeah. So it started to blow up, and I don't know. People started suggesting more places to go check out in the comments, and a lot of them are places I've actually already been to. But I'm like, but then I go back to the chicken spot. I got a DM from the owner of the chicken spot.
That's so cool.
He's like, I own the chicken place. He spells chicken wrong. Man owns a chicken store. Spells chicken wrong.
Yeah, but how do you spell it?
He spelled it chicken. Like
interesting.
CHEKN.
Not even ICKEN.
No, E.
With an
EAN.
Yeah, that's interesting. Check-in. Okay, so that has to mean something.
So we meet the check-in boss. So I go into the spot, and people in the comments are like, "Yo, food is banging," and I agree. The food was banging. My roommate over here is like, "Yo, let's go to the spot." So we go to the spot, and I go up to the window. I'm like, "Hey, I'm looking for like a Deloitte Con." So the chicken store owner's like, come by, I want you to make a second video. So I'm like, I'm looking for like the owner of the spot. And I was like, I made a video. He's like, oh, you're the one who made the video.
Yeah.
He's like, it's funny the guy pee on building, but the rest. I'm like, I don't know. So he's like, the owner's not here, and he's like, so the guy goes and pulls it, and he's like, and he's like, he'll be here in 5 minutes.
Do you speak Arabic?
No, I'm very bad. I'm actually better at Spanish than I am
Spanish.
in.
Yeah, Spanish will get you any place.
Cooking.
But your heritage, you should learn it.
I would love to.
Learn it.
Hard.
It's in your soul.
Yeah.
I got just the way you said that.
I'm not native to it, man.
No, but you don't have to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, and that's the magic of it, because it's a history that predates Christianity.
Oh well,
and you owe it to your ancestors.
It's true.
I feel the same way about Hebrew, and I don't speak it or write it or anything. But for you, it around here, it's like a view into a room that's locked to all others.
It's crazy.
It truly is. You have to know, with all the restaurants, it's all Arabic.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of them are Christians, and there are Jews as well.
Yeah.
And but it's very interesting.
That's what I appreciate about Patterson the most.
I
that
love
it really
the
is.
diversity.
It's the melting pot. It really is a true melting pot, where it's like there's the Peruvian section, African American, Dominican, Arabic. There's Jewish. There's fucking
there's everything. There
Puerto
used
Rican.
to be synagogues down by the old. There's a synagogue down there. Yeah. And then there's I love the buildings down by the
By the falls?
By the falls. Those
Yeah.
are beautiful.
I really like the mayor now. I like the mayor. He has like some questionable shit.
Now, what about the building that has all the lights in it?
Which building? Oh, that's the Art Factory.
That.
Art Factory is like this with like corporate money.
Yeah,
they're like 20 racks for a wedding.
That's serious. That's serious place. I drove by there and it was like, wow, someone who's really affluent did this.
Yeah. They make a lot of money on the weddings.
You bet they do. That's an event space.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it has parking and everything else.
Guy's kind of a dick from popular opinion.
But you would know from your working with all the.
I mean, I've never actually met the
here.
guy who owns the Art Factory. I just know a lot of people who like will lease a studio. They'll lease a studio from him, or they'll lease the tenants there are always like, man, this guy's fucking dick. It's like, but
well, he doesn't have to be. He owns the building.
Yeah. It's like, doesn't care, bro. You're a drop of water.
Yeah, you're a drop of water. I mean. Yeah, I got that, and that's what makes life really exciting in its own way, because he can pick and choose what he wants to be, and you can too, and that's why you're here and not there. Yeah, and that's why I brought it up as a sort of a verbal juxtaposition.
I felt like it was a little bit more fate, man. It was strange because like when I wasn't even really looking for an apartment, and I didn't know any of these people. I was a response.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like it was your friends that said, "Hey, we finally have a space that we can share with you."
No. It was I have an office in Woodland Park, and I was living with my grandmother and my father, and I just come back from Shasta after maybe like 6 years. I was taking care of my grandmother, but my father came back down because he's just like. The evolve of spoon feeding somebody the rest is that there's no work ethic, so the guy doesn't produce money, so he's living with his grandmother and stealing money. It's kind of the same situation.
Yeah. I heard all that. My parents, they were convinced that I had snorted a small country up my nose, and I did, and they conveniently made me go away through lawyers, and that's why. I'm very hesitant today to do anything with more than a handshake and a smile, because lawyers are just generally trouble for me.
Yeah.
And they represent all the bad things rather than all the good things.
Yeah, so what's it called? I was looking for so I had the office, and I was living there, and I don't know, like I actually had like kind of like a fling kind of get rejected, and I was like, I don't know, I was like, what the fuck? I looked at myself deeply, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I was like, well, this and this, and I was like, well, I'm also 30, so I was like looking for spots.
Yeah, but you're young. So.
I literally scrolled through Instagram, and I saw this spot, and then I responded to it, and I got like a quick like tour like on a calm day, and then I was like, all right, cool, and then I was very like, yo, can I do this? Like, I want to live here. I really want to live here.
It's just such great energy.
I had a night. Yeah,
it's like it just screams creativity. You could do anything here.
There's a lot of heritage as well.
Heritage, especially. Yeah. Well, that there is that, but the things that you've chosen and the manner that you place them is.
This is my baby.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I am so inspired. I can't begin to tell you that your cameras and your Ansel Adams and the scales of justice and the Toltec pre-Aztec or Aztec influenced art and the books that you've chosen and art books and Zen books and history books and Watchman and it and LSD. I mean, that was it.
Actually, this piece is actually not. It's like a tribute piece a little bit. So like, I have the two partners in this floor are John Fathom and Alex Bergerman. So I tried to get pieces that were like kind of like it's like the three personalities. Like I'm the one with like the middle, like where the skull and stuff. I have a lot of memento moris. The camera's over here. This is a lot of my equipment.
I love the SX70.
Yeah. This is but the Polaroids on tops are Alex. Alex is a Polaroid photographer. John is a lot of the curation over here. the stencils, these pieces, wonderful artist.
The lighting is beautiful, and here at night it must just glow.
Yeah, the chandeliers by Alex. But yeah, this whole thing was a tribute piece. So it's like I got items that were like what I would see. I would find at thrift that would be complimentary to the people, man. You know what I mean? It's like, I have this shop because like John founded 660, which was like kind of the spiritual predecessor of this place. So it was like 15 years in Jersey City on 660 Grand Street. Alex was one of the tenants, and he took a floor there, and he started to do after school activities and make all these programs. Inspired. Yeah,
you guys
should come for Monday, man.
You guys, I would love to. You really just you inspire me. And you help me see that everything isn't an office building. And that's when I drove by here, I was like, oh, there's like used car dealers and all sorts of shit down here. And then I came in through your doors, and there was a woman, a Spanish-speaking woman, and I asked her if it was okay to park my car next to hers, and she said, don't worry, it's okay. And she said, who are you coming to see? And I said, someone upstairs. And she was like, oh, she said, no problem, everything is fine. And I called, and that was it. And I mean, it's really, really nice. I've had great energy.
Yeah,
it was drawing me in like an electromagnet.
Yeah. It's crazy. Just the feeling of it, man. Like I said, I lived in McKibben before, but when I interviewed for this place, it was a different vibe. The first thing I was like, no way, Patterson's getting gentrified, bro. No way. But I was like, then I go here and I realize, man, that these people aren't really like that. They're like,
no, this is a creative output place. It's not just like Hoboken or Jersey City, and I know about those places because they're
imagery.
There's lofts there, but they're not. They're just for yuppies.
Yeah.
They're not for creators.
Yeah.
You're a creator.
Yeah.
You are truly a creator. No matter what you do in life, you will always be an artist.
Yeah.
Your brain works in ways that others don't.
It's my therapy, bro.
Well, that's what I say about when I worked in a bank.
Yeah.
It was so soul sucking.
Yeah.
It took away my creativity. I worked in a cube. There was nothing more demeaning than that. My cube went from an executive cube to an assistant's cube to this tiny little box that was indicative of my brain because they sucked the life out of me. Yeah. It wasn't fun anymore. It never was fun. People and their money, it's the most disgusting thing in the world. The money stinks. The strippers keep it in their cooties. And they would all give it to me when I was a teller. It had pubic hairs on it. It was disgusting.
Oh, I love, not love, but sometimes I see the stripper come in with a shitload of singles.
Stick it up their cootie.
Yeah.
Yeah, or other places. Yeah, and they turn it into the bank, and you're supposed to, and this is before gloves, because you don't work with gloves. If you work with gloves, they stick together. You work with your hands.
Really?
Yeah, and this was like 1992. So
fine year for stripping.
And everything was done with a sharp machine, which was like a adding machine.
Yeah.
It wasn't online. When we went online, it was like, what's that?
Yeah. Well, when
you had to reconcile every day.
In the sky.
You had to reconcile.
Huh.
So all that I ever have to say is that your path is really, really important to take, and it's so, I think it's so important to. There we are. It's so important to take the right path in life and to follow your dreams and be able to do what you love. And as an artist, you're able to do that, and I can see it in your face because. You are the Warren that I always wanted to be, and I'm just becoming now, and you are at your age for who you are, not just me. So,
I'm trying.
You've done a good job.
I'm trying.
This is a fucking awesome thing. Gosh, to be interviewed by you? I mean, I'm hood famous now.
This is actually Afternoon FM, but yeah, hood famous is we got to get an episode in, man.
This is awesome.
If you know any like hole in the wall spots that you want to check out.
As well. No, I know. I'm going to pour
too.
myself. See, what I do when I really learn about food and learn about the where food has taken me.
Yeah.
I put myself into someone else's hands and I say, what is your favorite? Let's go there.
Yeah, I'm following comments.
Because you just follow your stomach. That's all. That's what you do. You follow your stomach. I walk around and I smell and I smell things and I make sure that people that I'm with understand that this is not where the tourists go. You know, you don't see tourists out in front of
American fried chicken.
Yeah, well, I love fried chicken.
Nah, American fried chicken's is a journey.
But I love fried chicken. Can I say that again? I love fried chicken. We're having fun. This is great. You know, so back in 2015, I wish we could hold this up to the camera, but we don't have a camera. But I wrote this book, Cannabis Cocktails, Mocktails, and Tonics, and I give you 75 ways to serve cannabis in a beverage that'll mess you up and all your friends, and they'll remember you forever, like when I was on Viceland Live and I made a 25 or 2,800 milligram punch with barrel bourbon and blood orange juice. And it also had CBD because their producer, who trusted me, foolishly enough, the producer said, I want a CBD cocktail that I could feel. Well, everyone knows that when you mix CBD and alcohol together, it counteracts any feelings that you get from CBD, and it does nothing at all. So you have to add THC with the CBD to unlock the entourage effect, and they were destroyed on live TV. And I think this show got canceled a couple weeks afterwards. Viceland Live, they'll never forget. I'll never forget. I don't do that anymore. I'm really careful about who I make punch for. Because that one was memorable. That was a punch. I did one more party. I did a party for High Times magazine, and their chef lost their job.
Really?
Yeah, because he didn't tell anyone that the food was infused, and he really went over. There was like gummies with 500 milligrams in them, and people were eating dozens of them.
I've done that before.
Yeah, well, I have too. But these were like rich people, and they didn't take it well because they'd never gotten high before. Many of them, and so I showed up, and they were in the starting to feel nauseous stage. And the police showed up soon thereafter, and he lost his job. Through the grace of the universe, I didn't get into trouble because I wasn't making drinks long enough to have anyone have a bad experience. Yeah. But I was there, so I was party to it. Yeah. Bad thing.
That is crazy.
Bad thing. Yeah. Very, very bad thing. It changed the way I do cocktails for people. And I used to... hell or high water, make incredibly powerful drinks. Now it's less is more. Yeah. Because they're going to have 5 anyway, so I don't want them to have an overwhelming experience where they think about me and think about, when they were throwing up. Yeah. Because that's really what happens. You just get really sick. And I don't want them to feel sick. I have enough troubles with my Jewish belly, so I don't want to make them feel bad.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm very cautious on edibles on that, too. A lot of, I make very drastic life decisions. Edibles are too, I don't know. It's part of the reason why I went to California.
That's right.
I was working a bar job.
But a lot of people go to California for very altruistic reasons.
Yeah, what's weird is there's the manifest destiny thing.
Well, but California is that kind of place, and that's why we love it there, and that's why we love California. And just being around... like all those hippies and Vietnam vets, and all sorts of interesting people.
Redding's very strange. Redding was it's crazy. There
are a lot of artists
between NorCal and SoCal is nuts. SoCal is very I realized I wanted to be a filmmaker for the rest of my life when I was in SoCal.
Oh yeah, I mean because you're surrounded by it. I'm an Emerson grad. Yeah. I have a degree in film. I would love to make movies.
Oh hell yeah!
So the trouble was my grandfather was the largest shareholder of Columbia Pictures.
Really?
And he was vice chairman of the board, and I couldn't get a job working in the movie industry even if I wanted to because it was nepotism rules in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I came out of Emerson with this nicely minted BFA in film, and I couldn't get a job.
What?
I'd worked in television, I'd worked in film for years, but I couldn't get a real job, a real union job.
Yeah. I don't know.
So-
I'm very reluctant to take a fucking. It's not like a thing. It's just like I want to make. That's why I end up doing photography a lot. Actually, this is kind of a byproduct of. I just have to make shit every day.
I think what you have to do is be creative in small ways.
Yeah. Breathing is good.
Breathing is
Photography
good.
is a way of breathing.
And
podcasting.
and being interviewed is a really good thing. I love doing it. I love showing up in your beautiful space. I love sharing time with you and a cup of Darjeeling tea. And being in a Zen space that's really healing and very important to my growth and the
Always
way I
welcome
live my
back.
life. No,
Always welcome
I have
back.
to tell you that. That's really. I'm a seeker, but I'm also a finder, and I found my place here. Namaste.
Word. Hell yeah. Where can we find you on social media, bro?
You can find me at drinkklaus.com, DRINKKLAUS, 2 Ks. You can find us on Instagram at drinkklaus again, without the .com. I'm Warren Bobrow on Instagram. I'm also cocktailwhisperer.com. I think I have a Wikipedia. Pretty sure I do. My publisher took care of that. I've written 6 books. I write for Cannabis Cactus, I write for Skunk, and I write for Different Leaf, so you can read my stuff there. And I'm in Full Pour magazine this month. Their first issue, 2 full pages. That's it.
All right, word. Warren Bobrow, ladies and gentlemen, Afternoon FM. Stay beautiful, people.